Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode number 3 of the Devil S NFL podcast. My name is Sam.
And I'm Spencer.
All right, so today we are going over week number 8's games
Yep.
and our week number 9 power rankings.
All right. Without further ado, we're going to start. And the first game I'm going to talk about is the Chicago Bears against the 49ers. I'll start with my takeaways of the Bears. Sean Desai called a bad game, plain and simple. If Jimmy Garoppolo can carve up your defense like he did on Sunday, that defense has to be a bit overrated by some. I'm not calling it a bad unit by any means, but like it definitely had a down game, and I think Matt Nagy, I think the loss of him, even though he's a pretty bad coach, I think it was still impactful. I think he's still there. He still knows what to do. Fields look very solid. He had a garbage time pick, but that doesn't really matter all that much. I love Khalil Herbert. They're going to have a great 1-2 run game tandem in the future. The wide
Khalil
receiver,
Herbert
though.
did get hurt this game.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Yikes. So now they're down to Damian Williams. I don't have much faith in him behind that O-line. But the wide receivers are interesting. I don't think they're great. They should call Daz Newsome, activate him. Perriman, too, they have, but they haven't used him whatsoever. A-Rob is having a down year, but
I saw they were looking at trades for Allen Robinson that never materialized, but
nothing really ever happened. The Niners, they looked phenomenal.
Jimmy G looked good.
It is the Bears, but Jimmy G, he looked like his 2017 self completely. He was pushing the ball downfield. He was making good reads, and the run game looked great. Debo looked great. Shanahan even had a bounce back game. I really like what I saw from the Niners this week, and if they can sustain this, I could see them possibly creeping back into the playoff picture as a 7th seed in a pretty weak NFC. Next game we're going to talk about is the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals. What are your takeaways?
The Jets played a fantastic football game on Sunday. The Bengals, they didn't play horrible. The defense just didn't show up when they needed to. They could not get key stops. And props to Mike White. He had an amazing game in his first career start. Is he a 6th-round pick?
I think 5th-round pick in 2018 by Jared Jones and the Cowboys.
It was a 5th-round pick in 2018. And his contract is only $50,000. A 5th-round pick in 2018 out of Western Kentucky.
So his contract is less than like an Escalade for a car, and he simply balled out. Do you have any main concerns with the Bengals going forward?
I'm really concerned about their defense and their secondary play, especially at the end of the game.
Corners, yeah. Their corners.
They could not defend the Jets receivers at all. Braxton Berrios had a good game. Jamison Crowder played great. Denzel Mims played okay.
Yeah, he did drop a pass in the end zone, but I'm not too worried. Mike White, man, what a story! What a game!
What a game!
I really, 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 really hope he can keep this up. I don't think I'll pick the Jets to win on Thursday night, but I think it'll be a pretty tight game. I think White will play solid again. And if he continues to play like this and has the Jets winning 6 or 7 games this year, there could be a QB controversy in the Big Apple. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Mike White is the Jets Week 1 starter next year.
Okay, next game we have is the Los Angeles Rams destroying the Houston Texans 38-22. What do you have to say about the LA Rams?
They're a great team overall. Yes, it was the Texans, but they just look great. Teams can play down to competition nowadays, but the Rams did not do that. They allowed 22 points, but all in garbage time. McVay is great. D is great. Stafford is great. Receivers are great. They're almost a flawless team. Linebackers could use work, but they're still very, very, very good overall, and they're a Super Bowl favorite right now, in my opinion. I just love the way that they look on both sides of the football, and I really hope this continues because I really want to see Stafford win in this league. My take on the Texans, it's only 2 words: utterly pathetic.
The Texans are maybe if the Lions didn't exist, the Texans would be the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
And
if it
maybe
was
the
any other
worst.
year, they would be the worst.
But I don't know what I'm supposed to say about the Texans. Everything we've said about the Texans, we've said before, and the Rams played fantastic. You can't play much better than that. And there's
Yeah,
nothing
The
more
Rams
that I
played
can say
absolutely
that hasn't
phenomenal.
already been said.
All right, the next game we're going to talk about is the Miami Dolphins traveling to upstate and Western New York to take on the Buffalo Bills. What are your takeaways on the Miami Dolphins?
The Miami Dolphins, their offense is so horrible.
It's tough to watch, man, at this point.
I can't do it. Their defense is okay, but
It's regressed a lot
it's
still.
regressed
I
from
thought it
last
would
year.
be a
They
top
relied on
3.
turnovers, and you can't do that.
It's unsustainable.
And Josh Allen had a great game. The Bills have really bounced back from their week 1 loss against
Yeah.
Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
and they look great as a team. Cole Beasley had a fantastic game.
Yeah, he looked great overall. Yeah.
The Bills team defense played great. Again, it was against the Dolphins, but you can't ask for much better from the Bills defense.
Yeah. If Cole
The
Beasley,
Bills are my favorite out of the AFC.
same, but if Cole Beasley does not get that vaccine, it could end up hurting the team quite a bit, you know?
Good. You're right.
All right.
The next
Next,
game we're going to do is the Carolina Panthers coming into the Atlanta and beating the Atlanta Falcons 19-13. What do you have to say about the Panthers?
Darnold looked fine. He had a couple of bad throws, but no turnovers. Pretty clean game overall. He was hurt at the end of the game, went into concussion protocol. I haven't heard updates about him recently, but I think he'll be fine to go Sunday. If not, PJ Walker will get the start against New England. I think they're a pretty average team, 8-9 wins, but I think they sneak out the 7th seed in a pretty weak bottom half of the NFC this year. I like Matt Rule a lot and what they're building there, though. Falcons looked absolutely atrocious. Kyle Pitts had a bad game. And the
Matt
receivers
Ryan needs to go.
completely agree.
This will be his last year in Atlanta, and
They'll draft a quarterback or trade for one, or like they could trade for Baker Mayfield, honestly, for like a year, 1 year
that might
rental.
not be a bad option for them for a year.
Yeah. What were your takeaways on this game?
I love the way the Carolina Panthers played on defense.
Yeah,
Stephon Gilmore has been a game changer for them in their
already.
secondary in what is already the most promising secondary in football. It just got better.
That's a scary sight for offensive coordinators that they play the rest of this season.
JC Horn, CJ Henderson, Jeremy
AJ
Chin.
Bouye is even playing well.
AJ Bouye, yeah. Yes.
Jeremy Chin too.
And think about it, that whole secondary outside of Bouye and Stephon Gilmore is young.
CJ Henderson, Horn, Dante Jackson, Jeremy Chin, they're loaded.
And they will be a force in the NFC for years to come.
If they get a quarterback.
If they can get a quarterback, yes. I feel like they draft a quarterback this year.
Yeah, it'll probably be around the middle of the pack. So I think they draft one around there since there are no like top end prospects.
All right. Next game is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns just looked horrible on offense. I understand they're playing a great defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
But still, like, if you have a great run game and you don't really incorporate it that much, that's a big problem. And if the Browns don't use their run game, they're a bad football team. I can confidently say that. Their passing game is limited with Baker, Odell. Their connection's not meshing at all. Yeah, I'm not a fan of what I've seen from this team this year.
Major news that came out of Cleveland earlier today and yet last night was the Cleveland Browns Odell Beckham Jr.'s father, Odell Beckham Sr., had some very critical thoughts of Baker Mayfield. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw that earlier today on Instagram, and what I can say to his father is, you're speaking the truth, 100%. Baker Mayfield is not the right quarterback, and Cleveland is not the right team for Odell Beckham Jr. I said it last year, and I'll say it again: trade him, get him out of there. Yeah, they should have traded him today. The Saints were in talks, but they couldn't get it done. I think he's gone after the year, and I think Odell Beckham is unfortunately wide receiver 2 at best at this point in his career. Pittsburgh, by the way, they look solid. Ben is a liability, but not too much of a liability. Najee looked great once again.
I
And the
think
D,
there's an outside chance Pittsburgh can make the wild card. I don't
I can
think it
see it.
happens, but I think there's a chance it can happen.
I wouldn't even be shocked if they won the North at like 11-6.
I think that's a little steep for them, but I'd go 9-8 at this point. I called them a
Yeah, I can see
below
10-7.
500 team at the beginning of the year. That's not been a great take. It's not aging well.
You thought they'd be below?
I did think they'd be below, correct.
Same. I had them at like 7-10.
I had them at 7-10 as well. All right, on to the last 1 o'clock game we're going to go over. Oh, excuse me, we have 2 more 1 o'clock games we're going to go over, being this one is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions.
All right.
The Lions,
They're just pathetic right now.
pathetic.
They've been
They're the
competitive
worst
in a
team
lot
in
of games,
football.
but
I take the expansion Buccaneers over them, and I take the 2017 Browns. I'd even take the 08 Lions over them.
you take the 08 Lions over them, actually.
Yes.
I think that's kind of too far. They're bad, but the 08 Lions were a different level of atrocity. But I can see where it's coming from, honestly. All right.
The Eagles played a great game.
Yeah,
You cannot
I was
play
about to
better than
say.
how they played. Hurts could have been better, but
He
I'm
didn't
grasping
really
at
do much.
straws with that. There's isn't much better you can play. On to our next game, being the last 1 o'clock game, being the Tennessee Titans traveling to Indianapolis to play the Indianapolis Colts, and they won in overtime 34
34-31.
to 31.
I'm gonna say a few takeaways and then I'll give it to you, Sam. But I'm gonna start off with the Colts, the losing team in OT. Wentz sold the bag this game. He threw a pick right into the hands of Elijah Molden on the 5-6 yard line. He takes it right into the end zone. That's a stupid decision you cannot make in your 6th year in the NFL. He's been playing well this year, don't get me wrong, but he sold this game. He had 2 picks, a bad one in overtime as well. Another takeaway from the Colts offense is they got to incorporate Jonathan Taylor though, like a lot. Like he's been great when he gets the ball, but feed JT. I need to see Frank Reich incorporate him more into the offense. The D didn't look great. The linebackers and coverage have been an issue this year, and the secondary looked atrocious. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans. Tannehill, he had a couple of picks, but he didn't look too bad. Henry didn't look good, but he was hurt. And the D looked very solid and came up clutch and crucial moment with Mike Vrabel. Got to give him credit where it's due. He coached a phenomenal game, and I'm really excited to see what the Titans passing game can do with Derrick Henry out these next couple of weeks and possibly for the remainder of the season. Moving on to the 425 games and the 405 games, we're going to start with the Patriots and the Chargers. Sam, what are your takeaways on this one?
The Patriots played a great game.
Agreed.
You cannot do much better than how they did. Damian Harris was really good in the run game, and Mac Jones played very solid quarterback play. The Patriots don't need great quarterback play to succeed. They just need serviceable guys, and that's what Mac Jones is.
Yeah, he can get the job done. He's I don't think he'll be anything special, as I said last week, but he's a solid game manager who's capable of getting the job done if needed. For the Chargers, what are your takeaways on Justin Herbert's struggles and the late defensive struggles as well by LA?
The defensive struggles have been going on the past couple of weeks, especially with the Baltimore loss, and even now with the Patriots loss.
Yeah,
It hasn't got better. The offense played better this week, but it wasn't enough to get the win. I think they're still a good team moving forward, and they
they're very
will.
solid. I think they win their division, but
I
I think they'll
agree.
be close. All right, next game. Washington traveling to Mile High to take on Teddy B and the Denver Broncos. First
That was a rough game to watch.
takeaway from this game is fire Scott Turner. He's the offensive coordinator for Washington, in case you were wondering. He's done a terrible job this year, play calling and much, much more. Ron should go to. Disappointing game by them. They're a bottom 5 team in the league, and I'm very close to calling them a bottom 4 team in the league. Both sides of the ball look suspect. Even the D line that had a lot of expectations coming into the year hasn't looked up to standards. Although they had a solid game on Sunday, and the secondary is just bad. Denver, Teddy B looked efficient, but he's not the answer there. He's a backup quarterback.
But Teddy Bridgewater should not be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
He's so
Washington's
limited.
defense played better. Washington's defense played better. I don't know if that's because they're actually getting better.
No, I do not think they're
the
getting better.
Broncos.
The Broncos just have an abysmal offense that cannot move the ball downfield at a proper rate.
On to our next game, being the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle played an all right game. Again, it was against Jacksonville, and
it was against Urban Meyer. Enough said. But they took care of business with Geno Smith at quarterback. They'll be a dangerous team with Russ Beck, but who knows when he's coming back? Who knows what position they'll be in? Pete Carroll, I still don't have a lot of faith in him. But Urban Meyer is 10 times worse. Not just what he gets off the field, but on the field. He's not a good leader at all, and he's not the coach for that football team moving forward. The Jags are awful. I really hope they don't ruin Trevor Lawrence and James Robinson. The next game we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the Buccaneers traveling to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to take on Jameis Saints. What were your takeaways from that game?
I've waited to talk about this game. I couldn't wait to come on here and talk about it.
Such a good finish.
That was a great game. And the Saints were struggling in the second half because they were without their quarterback. Jameis Winston is done for the year. Who do you think they should go to as a quarterback?
I think they should, as of now, he's hurt, but when he comes back, start Trevor Siemian right now, but see what you have in Taysom Hill. And if not, I'd try to sign Cam Newton, call Phillip Rivers even. Trade deadline pass, but I would have traded for Minshew or someone like that. But I think the Saints are fine.
Yeah. The Buccaneers played a solid game, but it wasn't enough to get the job done.
And coaching, it really hurt them in this one.
Their defense did not play great, especially in the first half, and they were down 23-7 at one point in this game.
And they came back and took the lead, and the Saints just take the lead right back in the final minutes of the game. That's just poor coaching, and a lot of that goes on Bruce Arians.
The pick six sealed it.
Pick six by P.J. Williams.
P.J. Williams. That was an excellent play by P.J. Williams on that pick six.
Well, one of the plays of the week, to be honest. Clutch moment. And Brady cannot get it done in the regular season against the Saints yet again for the third time in a row. Next game, the nightcap, Cooper Rush and the Cowboys traveled to Minneapolis, and they took on the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins sold this game, in my opinion. He was missing throws left and right. Poor execution by Zimmer, too, on the last drive, but a lot of that does go on Kirk. I do not think he's very good. Not the future of this team, to say the least. Cooper Rush, he looks solid. The D looked great for Dallas, too. Amari Cooper had a really good game. Zeke looks to be bouncing back, and I really like how Mike McCarthy coached without their star quarterback. What were your takeaways from this game, Sam?
The Cowboys look like Super Bowl contenders. It hurts me to say
Completely.
that as a Giants fan, but they look like Super Bowl contenders. Mike McCarthy
Not even a
didn't hold
debate.
them back, and the
I doubt
Cowboys,
McCarthy
their
holds them back.
defense looked good. Their
Jake,
offense looked okay, and that's what they kind of needed to do. Cooper Rush isn't gonna kill you, but he played a good game.
he got the job done for what he was given, honestly.
This is a game I thought the Cowboys would lose, especially, but
Same.
that's until I saw the Vikings do that.
Yeah, and after this, I don't have much faith in the Vikings going forward this year. They're a 6 to 7 win team right now, and it could get even worse. They're just stuck in mediocrity right now, and I'm
Their
not a fan
upcoming
of Zinner.
schedule is
Brutal.
Ravens,
Chargers.
Chargers, Packers, 49ers.
I see them after that either 4-7 or even 3-8, and I think after that they pull the plug on Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I don't think he should have been brought back to begin with this year, but the ownership did not want to swallow his contract.
Agreed. All right. Last night's game, we're recording this on Tuesday night. With the Giants taking on the Chiefs at Arrowhead. First off, the Chiefs look awful. They didn't look good. Mahomes, he had a bad pick early on, and he did not look like himself once again. Chiefs D was whatever. It looked better than weeks past, but it is indeed the New York Giants. Giants competitive, but coaching really screwed them up this game, especially Jason Garrett's play calling on fourth down, not going for it, being too passive. Jones played a really good game for his standards, and the wide receivers played solid other than the last drive. But the Giants aren't a good team, but neither are the Chiefs, honestly. And without further ado, that will conclude our game recaps for this week.
One more game, and I want to mention something before we get into that final game. The Chiefs picked up Melvin Ingram from the Pittsburgh Steelers this afternoon, and I think that will really help them in the future with their pass rush. And our last game of the week, which is the game of the week, which we will always do last, the Packers and the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was the Thursday night game. I can't believe we forgot about this. It was an insane game. Came down to the wire. What were your takeaways on the Arizona Cardinals in this one?
The Cardinals didn't look horrible. Kyler Murray did get hurt in this game, and I don't believe he will play next week.
It was 10 days, around a week or two, so he could be back, but I would not risk it.
I doubt he returns against the 49ers. But the Cardinals did not play horrible, but the defense has to get off the field, which they did not do. The defense did not look good against the Packers and their practice squad receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Randall Cobb had a good game. Aaron Rodgers was vintage Aaron Rodgers. You couldn't ask for much better out of the Packers offense, and they did what they had to do.
Completely agree. Rodgers, he wasn't perfect by any means, but he got the job done with the limited supporting cast and injuries, COVID. Matt LaFleur called a phenomenal game. I give him a ton of credit here. He should be the coach of the year front runner right now. They have a multitude of injuries, and he's doing all of this. Cardinals, no need to worry. They're still a great football
The Cardinals
team.
will be fine. They're still a playoff team. They're a playoff lock at this point.
Playoff lock. They're a top 3 team in the NFC still, in my opinion. They're still phenomenal, both sides of the ball. It's just like poor late game execution by AJ Green, especially. I think they're going to be just fine, though.
All right, moving on from our game recaps to our power rankings.
I'm going to start the power rankings off. And at 32, I have I'm going to bite a kneecap off Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Only a couple words here.
They're bad. They're bad.
I feel bad for their fans. Long suffering. They haven't won a playoff game since the 1990s. and it looks to be getting better soon, but they have to go through 9 more games of this, possibly even go 0-17.
I
At
believe
least
at
they'll
the
get Kayvon
conclusion of
Thibodeau.
this season, if they don't make I'm assuming they're not going to make the playoffs. So it would be 30
chance.
years.
What'd you say?
This year, the conclusion of this season would mark the 30th anniversary of Detroit's last playoff win.
That's just straight out embarrassing. Like, if I was a fan of a franchise and I was 30 years old and I didn't see my franchise win a playoff game, I'd be ashamed of myself.
I believe the Bengals' last playoff win is somewhere in the same realm.
I think it's like 90, 93, 94.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. My number 32 is also the Lions, which Spencer got what I was going to say down perfectly. So I'm going to do my number 31, which is the Miami Dolphins. They are awful. Their offense is horrible. Their defense regressed. There's not much I can say that makes that better. I don't know how they can improve. I don't know what I do as if I'm their GM. I don't know how I move forward because they don't have their first round pick. They can't tank it even if they wanted to.
The quarterback isn't the main issue.
It isn't.
Not even close.
Can he play offense? Can Tua play offensive line? Can Tua play in the secondary?
Play running back?
Can he play running back? Can he catch the ball?
Can he call plays?
Plays.
He cannot even call plays. All right. My number 31 is Houston, the Texans. Any other year other than 2017 and 2008, they're the worst team in the NFL, and this year too. David Khalil, he's not qualified to be a coach at all. I wouldn't want him coaching my 5-year-old brother and his at his soccer practice. He's just so bad. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing at all. I think he's gonna get fired after this year. Mills, he looks whatever for a rookie, but he's not the guy there. Watson will be traded sooner than later, and they're just a mess overall right now in all parts of the game. Who do you have at number 30?
My number 30 is also the Houston Texans for the same reasons mentioned above. Exactly. Their coaching is beyond horrible. And I don't know what you do. If their best option is to tank for the first pick.
Yeah,
they honestly can't really do much.
If they go 1-16, there's a good chance they end up with either the first pick or the second pick.
Yes, I don't really. You have to fire the head coach at this point.
Yeah, because normally I'm a fan of giving coaches 2 or even 3 years to be the guy, but he should have never been hired in the first place. He was the passing game.
Similar to when the Cardinals hired Steve Wilkes.
Steve Wilkes in 2018.
2018. They realized their fuck up and fired him.
Yep.
Right after the season. I think the Texans will do the same thing. I never liked the idea of having the guy who has never been a head coach or even an offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
wasn't he the Ravens passing game coordinators?
Yeah, and believe it or not, they had the 29th ranked passing game last season, and they hired him. McNair family, what are you doing? I cannot believe it.
Oh, fuck them. They should sell.
Now they should sell. All right.
Number 29 is for me, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Urban Meyer is a bad NFL coach. He could still be a good college coach.
Very good college coach, but he does not fit the NFL at all. He's immature too, and that's big.
I have a bold prediction. He's going to resign in the same way that what's his name?
Chip Kelly?
Not Chip Kelly. the Louisville guy.
Oh, the Falcons guy.
Yeah, he left in 2007. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but the same way he left for Arkansas.
Petrino. Yeah,
Petrino, yes, thank you.
they were
Petrino left in
3-10 in there.
2007 from the Falcons. He's going to leave that way and go to LSU.
I could see that. I could see that in a couple of weeks too, and he starts fresh at LSU next fall.
That's something I agree with and something that I predict will happen.
All right, my number 29 for the same exact reasons is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shad Khan. I want to talk about this for a couple of minutes actually. His ownership is
Floor is
awful.
yours.
Shad Khan is terrible. The decisions he's made at GM and coach
He does
recently,
not give a flying fuck about the team. He just cares about the money.
he does not care at all. He does not seem motivated to fix the culture there. Never has been. I don't think he ever will be. He needs to sell now. He handled the Bortles situation pretty bad too, in my opinion. I would have gotten rid of him after year 3. They held on to him until the end of 2018. They could have pretty easily had Deshaun Watson or even Mahomes right now, but they ended up having Foles for a year, Minshew and Bortles. They're an absolute dumpster fire right now. Still, my number 28, big shocker here, Vic Fangio and the Denver Broncos. And they did win on Sunday, but it was basically a loss in my opinion. They looked terrible, both sides of the ball. In the second half, D looked great in the first half and a little bit of the second half, but it's Washington. They should shut them out. To be frankly honest, with how talented of a secondary they should have. But Vic Fangio, he constantly underachieves, and he's on the boiling hot seat right now, and he should be gone already. But he's not, and that's Denver's biggest issue: quarterback and head coach.
My number 28 is the Washington football team. Their offense is pathetic. Their defense is close to pathetic. They did play better on Sunday. I don't know if that's
He's
because
been better recently.
I don't know if it's because they played the Broncos or
I think it's just because they played Denver. They would be pathetic otherwise.
the coaching was not very good. There was a couple baffling decisions from Ron Rivera. And I think they'll get better in the coming weeks. It's just those don't look good right now.
My number 27 team is the New York Football Giants. Oh no, the headsets weren't working. That's why I've been struggling calling plays. Shut up, Joe Judge. You're a qualified head coach in the NFL. Deal with it yourself. Like how? How does that happen? He was so bad last night. Jason Garrett too. I can't even get into it. The Chiefs played bad too. Don't get me wrong, but this falls on the Giants coaching. With a better coach and coordinator, the Giants easily win this game by 10 or more points. Who is your number 27 team?
My number 27 is the New York Football Giants. Give me a couple minutes. I'm going to go on my little Joe Judge rant. This has been spewing in my mind over the past couple of weeks, and I finally am fed up and I'm ready to raise hell. Joe Judge, in my opinion, is one of the worst coaches in Giants history, right next to Ben McAdoo and Ray Handley.
Pat Shurmur.
Pat Shurmur wasn't that horrible. Yeah. How the fuck do you say that the headsets don't work? And you say that it's been happening over the past couple of weeks. Why the fuck did you not say anything about it before? How dumb are you? And first of all, the guy is so goddamn conservative. The GM too. Gettleman should have been fired years before this, and he should not have been here after 2019. He should have been fired along with Shurmur.
Yeah, they should have brought in a new general manager. The Jets have a solid general manager, and that's why their future is
I
brighter
would
than the
love to
Giants.
have
Douglas,
Mr. Joe Douglas as my GM, and he at least knows what the fuck he's doing.
yeah, like he took over a rebuilding team, and he's done pretty good things so far.
I love the Jets have a very bright future. They're going to be a playoff team in the next couple of years.
All right, my number 26 team, for the same reasons you have them at, is the Washington football team. Stop hyping up Taylor Heineke. Anyone who is, he's terrible. He's a backup. That believe it or not, that isn't my main problem with this team right now. It's coaching. Ron Rivera, even Jack Del Rio, and most importantly, Scott Turner needs to go. His game plans aren't working at all. They're not giving Gibson the ball nearly enough as they should. And they're a mess right now. The D looked better on Sunday, but it is Denver, and I think they're gonna crash back to earth next week. They're a pathetic football team, and they have no future too. Who's your number 20?
My number 26 is the Bears.
They suck.
They are terrible. Their offense was better today.
Fields look pretty solid.
It's a solid Niners defense, but
He
their
played
defense
well without
one's
Matt Nagy.
one's good, the other's horrible. I don't know what's going on with that. Matt Nagy was out with COVID. It wasn't his fault. I'm not going to say anything about him. But who is their defensive coordinator anyway?
Sean Desai. I don't know where he came from, but he's been solid so far. And Sunday he shit the bed.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because the 49ers look good. Jimmy G looked good. I'll get to them when we get to it. But
all right. My number 25 is my team, the New York Jets. Mike freaking White. Unfucking believable, man. He was an absolute stud on Sunday. He looked calm, poised, collective, cool in the pocket. He didn't force anything. Both of his picks, in my opinion, were the receiver's fault. Crowder and Carter, respectively. If he keeps this up, we'll have a quarterback controversy, but I have no issues with it. If Wilson sits this year and starts next year, I'm fine with it. More experience for Mike White too. This team isn't good, but they have a really good future, and I'm optimistic about our pieces heading into 2022, and even for the latter half of this season. Who do you have at number 25?
my number 25 is a bit of a surprise. It's the Seattle Seahawks. I do not like that team in general because I'm not a fan of Geno Smith. I'm not a fan of their defense. The only reason the Seahawks defense played well is because they played the fucking
Jacksonville. It's an Urban Meyer and Darrell Bevel coached offense.
Yeah, that's not going to end well. Darrell Bevel was the offensive coordinator in Detroit. I believe he was also the offensive coordinator in Seattle when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but it was their defense that led them there.
True. But yeah, you're not going anywhere if you have Darrell Bevel and Urban Meyer as your coaches in the NFL. This isn't college. This isn't Florida.
It's the NFL. Wake up, Shad Khan.
And back to the Seahawks. They did not play horrible, but I feel like the other teams I have above them are better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nothing against them being
Completely fair.
If this were a normal season, there were more 2-win teams, then I'd have the Seahawks probably in the mid-20s, but they're 25 for me.
My number 24 is Fly, Eagles Fly, the Philadelphia Eagles. Convincing win over the Lions, 44-6. Hurts wasn't spectacular, but he did enough for them to win. The run game looked great. Coaching was a ton better. Sirianni really coached the game well. Although it was Detroit, it's still promising to see. The D looked great too. I like where this Eagles team is headed. They don't have the QB right now, but um, I like that they have 3 first-round picks. Howie Roseman is extremely underrated at this point, and he deserves a lot more credit.
My number 24 for the same reasons that you gave are the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't think you explained it perfectly. So my number 23 is the Denver Broncos. Good God, are they bad?
They're terrible.
They're 4-4, but I don't feel like they deserve to be 4-4.
I think they're a 1-7 caliber team, believe it or not.
To me, I feel like they're on the same level as Seattle, but except they have the extra win.
I think they're on the same level as like the Giants in Washington.
They're lucky that they got to play
The
Jacksonville,
Jets, Jags, and the Giants early
the
on.
Jags, Giants, and Jets, because they're bad. I've never been a fan of Vic Fangio as a coach. He's a good defensive coordinator, don't get me
In
wrong.
Chicago, I loved him.
But I don't think he's fit to be a head coach.
Not whatsoever. All right, my number 22, Vic Fangio's former team, actually, Chicago, for the same reasons you had, but Ryan Pace, he has to get the hell out of there immediately. He's made head scratching moves.
They both should have been gone after the wild card game lost against New Orleans. I've been saying that since the offseason, and everything I've said has been confirmed.
I was always on the fire Nagy train, but this year I've really turned up on Pace in a bad way. He is a bad GM, and they should have traded Allen Robinson today. They kept him. Like, what's he gonna do for the rest of the year? He has rookie quarterback, bad head coach, bad offensive coordinator. Recipe for disaster. He's gonna want out, and it's gonna be a whole situation once again. They're absolutely.
Justin Fields is realizing that Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. It happened with Trubisky. It happened with Jay Cutler.
Yep.
And it's going to happen with Justin Fields.
Completely agree.
My number 22, this is a bit of a surprise, being the New York Football Jets. Jets, Jets.
Oh wait, do you know if I did 24 23 just now?
If you did 23.
23, okay. All right.
So the Jets played a fantastic game. Mike White
Mike
White is the
out.
Jets' savior. That is an overreaction, but Mike White had a very solid game. He's going to be a great placeholder for Zach Wilson while he's getting healthy. And I think the Jets have legit hope for the future, especially for the way the defense played at the end of the game.
Yeah, our defense has been extremely promising so far.
Absolutely. And the Shaq Lawson interception. The Jets played a great game offensively, and they had a great game defensively at the end.
Yep. All right. My number 22 team is the Atlanta Falcons. They're below average. I wouldn't call them terrible by any means, but Matt Ryan is regressing like crazy, and they just don't look very good. Arthur Smith, he's fine. The defense is terrible still, aside from AJ Terrell and Grady Jarrett. And they should go in a full rebuild mode this offseason, in my opinion.
Completely agree. My number 21 is the Atlanta Falcons. I think Matt Ryan has to go now. And I think it's time for someone new to take over as quarterback. And it's just time. I love Matt Ryan,
but his time has passed.
His time has expired in Atlanta.
Yep. All right.
My number 20 is the San Francisco 49ers. They played a great game on offense. They honestly played it fantastic against a very good Chicago Bears defense. And I think they could possibly sneak in as the 7th seed in the
I wouldn't be shocked.
NFC. And the defense is showing strides. And they're showing that they can, even without their old defensive coordinator from last year.
Yeah. My number 21 is the Minnesota Vikings. Probably the most disappointing team this week. Cooper Rush, all I gotta say. How do you lose to a third string quarterback in past years? He's a backup this year, but did not get like any reps. And Mike Zimmer, people wanted to say he cost the game. He's cost the season so far. Kirk just cost this game. Kirk and Zimmer have to both go after the season goes. I like what I saw from the defense, but they weren't even that good. They're just not a good team right now. A lot of talent, not good execution, and not good coaching, and not good quarterback play.
Honestly, Cooper Rush was really good in the games he started last year as well. Again, in the Pittsburgh game last year, when he had to, he performed pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lead into my number 19, and that is the Carolina Panthers. And
Who's your number 20?
They didn't play bad for me.
Who's your number 20?
I did my number 20 already. It's the 49ers.
Oh, yeah.
And the Panthers played a very solid game. Their defense looks really good. And I think that team's going to be a force to reckon with for a very long time, considering it's so young. And it got better with adding Stephon Gilmore to it.
Yeah,
and if they can find a quarterback, the team's going to be fucking dangerous.
Completely agree. My number 20 team, I'm going to do both 2019 right now, is Seattle. Not much to really say. They're not a good team without Russell Wilson, but I saw encouraging signs from the defense on Sunday. Quandre Diggs stays underrated. But it is the Jaguars at the end of the day, and I need to see more from Geno Smith if he can even be a solid backup in the league right now. 19 may come as a shock to you guys, but I thought about this all weekend too after the game. Cleveland Browns, Mayfield and OBJ, it's not meshing well. They didn't use the run game enough on Sunday against a good Pittsburgh defense. The defense is suspect in some areas. Coaching is too. They're just kind of stuck right now. And if they have to pay Baker Mayfield, they're going to be stuck too. So it'll be interesting to see how this team progresses as the year goes on.
Absolutely. My number 18 is the Minnesota Vikings. For the same reasons you said, Bob, they disappointed me. I thought they were good. I picked them to win last week.
Same.
And honestly, they struggled. Too. Their offense looked horrible. Their coaching was horrible. The quarterback play was horrible. The running game was horrible. The defense was fine. It was passable, but that's not going to win you games. And therefore, they were the most disappointing team of the week. And honestly, I don't know where they go from here. Their schedule gets nothing but tougher.
They're going to be 3-8 or 3-9 at some point. They're kind of screwed. My number 18 team is the Niners. I like what I saw from Jimmy G. Elijah Mitchell's an absolute stud, a diamond in the rough pick that paid off late by John Lynch. Deebo Samuel continues to impress me. They should use Brandon Ayuk more, but he should be involved more as the year goes on. D looks solid too. Shanahan called a really solid game. And they showed encouraging signs. If they could keep this up, I could see them being an 8-9 win team and possibly sneaking into the 6 or even 7 seed in the postseason.
Right. My number 17 team is the Indianapolis Colts. They didn't play a bad game on Sunday, and I think they got victimized by their opponent. And if they were playing any other team, I think they would have won that game. And Carson Wentz had a very horrible interception.
He sold that game badly.
He did.
Really, really bad.
Perhaps they win that game if he doesn't throw that pick six, because they scored a touchdown the very next drive.
Yeah, like at worst it would be a punt, probably, or at least like a pick and they get a field goal, but pick six. All right. My number 17, the most disappointing team in the NFL this year, the Chiefs. Oh my God, what a fall from grace. they looked terrible against the Giants. A win is a win, but Mahomes struggled. Reed didn't have a good game play calling. And the D looked whatever. It's the Giants, so I don't really care too much. But they're not a good football team right now. They're pretty mediocre, if that. And I don't see this team being a playoff team this year.
This is my number 16 team, and I just want to have one thing to add. The Giants should have won that game.
If
I
it
don't
wasn't for
mean to
bad play
be
calling, they
a
would have easily won that game.
I don't mean to be a bitch, but
Yeah.
the
I
Giants should have
completely
won
agree
that
with you.
game. It's not the refs' fault. It's coaching. It's personnel decisions, route concepts, all of the above. The Giants need an overhaul of their offensive staff.
Immediately, yeah.
All right, leading in is Spencer's number 16. Who is it?
My number 16 is Carson Wentz and the Colts. Colts fans, there's absolutely no need to panic right now, but there's a bit of concern just because the AFC is so crowded. 3-5 right now. They play the Jets this week, and then they play the Jaguars. I see them winning both those games, although I think the Jets one could be close. Frank Reich, I don't think he's the guy at head coach. I don't think he's a terrible coach, but I just don't think he uses Jonathan Taylor quite enough for them to be a contending team. And the defense, especially the linebackers, coverage wise, suck right now. They've been a massive liability all year long. But on the flip side of that, when Jonathan Taylor does get the ball, good things happen. So if Carson Wentz can play it safe, and they keep giving the ball to Taylor more, I can see this team being a 7th seed.
Absolutely. My number 15 team is the Cleveland Browns, and they looked horrible on Sunday. Their offense, I think it'll get better,
Agreed.
but I don't really know what to say. They look bad. They're not getting the run. They're not getting the run game enough. I know Kareem Hunt is hurt.
They still have to feed Chubb more and more.
Yes,
Like
and I
Nick
feel
Chubb
like
he has
that
so
the
much talent.
offense deflected more to Dearness Johnson than to Nick Chubb, and the passing attack is not good.
Yeah. All right, my number 15 is Matt Rule's Carolina Panthers. They took care of business on Sunday against the Falcons. They're the definition of average right now. Great defense, bad offense. Just split right down the middle with average coaching pickled into that. But I want to say one thing that makes me really, really happy to see. Stephon Gilmore being counted out by a lot of people, being called washed, but he was a stud on Sunday, and he couldn't be a better fit for that defense. It was a great move by Carolina, snagging him for a 6th round pick.
My number 14 team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they looked really good on Sunday, especially their defense, and the offense is it's passable.
It got the
It's
job
passable.
done.
And passable is all you need with that defense they have.
Yeah.
They did get rid of Melvin Ingram, excuse me. And I think that may have an effect on them.
But I don't think it'll be too bad. He had a great week 1 against Buffalo, but he's been pretty quiet since then.
Absolutely. Spencer, would you like to go into your number 14?
My number 14 is also Pittsburgh, for the same reasons you said, except Mike Tomlin deserves more credit yet again this year. I've seen some people call him overrated, and I couldn't disagree anymore. The guy's been an awesome head coach for that organization. Great locker room guy too. This team would be 2-5 or 3-4 without him. And the defense is still elite in my opinion, and this could be a wild card team. Who's your number 13?
My number 13 dropping down 5 is the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're going to be fine after this loss. They did struggle on
I think it was just a
defense.
fluke. I think it was just a fluke loss. I still think they're division contenders, even wild card contenders, if they can't win the division.
Absolutely. I do think the refs screwed them over at the end of the game,
But they
but
shouldn't
that
have
game
played
should
that
have never
way.
been competitive in the first place. I did not like the helmet to helmet call on Mike Hilton. I think at at best, it either should have been on Ty Johnson or no call at all.
Yeah. If I was the referee, I would have said no call at all. In first down there, but still don't think the Bengals would have came back to win that game, even if that wasn't called. My number 13 is also the Bengals for the same reasons. Burrow had a late pick that wasn't really his fault, but it was still bad
It was a
timing.
tip pass.
Yeah. Jamar Chase for the first time this year got shut down by Bryce Hall, Brandon Eccles. So it was really encouraging to see as a Jets fan us shut down a top 10 receiver. And the Bengals D struggled a lot. They couldn't contain the run. They couldn't contain the pass. Struggled all around, and a lot of that falls on the defensive coaching staff. But I think they're going to be just fine. Calm down, Bengals fans. You're going to be all right. This is still a pretty damn good team. Moving on to my number 12 is the Chargers. Kind of an interesting situation with them. I can't really find what's wrong with this team. They just seem to underperform at some points. Herbert looked off the last 2 weeks, but I think he'll bounce back. Staley's still a phenomenal head coach with a great hire. They should add a third receiver to Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I prefer like a Deshaun Jackson type guy. The D is whatever. It's up and down, but it gets the job done. I still think they're going to win the West, and they're still a playoff team, nearly a playoff lock in my opinion. Are the Chargers? Who is your number 12, Sam?
My number 12 is the New England Patriots. And obviously they had a very good game against the LA Chargers. The Mac Jones was passable. Damian Harris had a great game rushing. The defense played well. Honestly, not much I need to say. They have a
I won't have a lot to
I wouldn't
complain
say it's
about
a
them
hard
either.
schedule, but I wouldn't say it's very easy either coming up. I think they can sneak in as the 7th seed in the AFC.
Completely agree. All
My
right.
number 11 is the LA Chargers for the same reasons that you mentioned above.
Fair. I was debating putting them anywhere between 13 and 9, so that 11 falls right in the middle. My number 11 team is the New Orleans Saints. I was a huge fan of this team coming into the year, and they've proved me pretty right so far, except for a couple close losses. With Jameis out, it'll be interesting to see what Sean Payton and the general manager down there do at the quarterback position. But I'm fine with Trevor Siemian starting there. I think he can honestly get the job done for a game or two. And Taysom, I don't think he's a quarterback, and I don't think he's good at all. But I don't think he'll hold the team back a lot. And the defense is elite. The run game, the O line is elite. The coaching is phenomenal. They're going to be a playoff team this year. I have them as a 6th seed right now in the NFC. Who is your number 10? Who's
My
your
number
number
10
11?
is the Las Vegas Raiders. Even during the bye, I have them up because
Other
they're a
team.
good team. Max
Yeah.
Crosby is a good. The team
Carr
defense
looks
has gotten
great.
better. And this it's pretty much the same offense as before, even though they did lose Henry Ruggs for an undisclosed period of time.
Yep. Probably his career.
May never play again. Well,
He's probably done
some team will probably take him on just
at some
because.
point. But if we remember what happened, like Justin Blackman, this kind of reminds me of that.
Whatever happened to him?
Justin Blackman, he was arrested and charged for aggravated driving under the influence. Yeah, it was the same thing. He hasn't played since week 8 of 2013.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are a good team. I think they take the 5 seed, and I think the Chargers take the AFC West.
Yeah. Who is your number 9?
Did you say you're number 10 yet?
Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah. My number 10 is Matt McCorkle's New England Patriots. They look solid on Sunday. More than solid actually. They look really damn good. I like Belichick's game plan. They beat the Chargers last year, and it's been a constant theme of them winning against the Chargers recently, playoffs, regular season. McCorkle, he got the job done. He missed some throws, but he's a rookie. That's going to happen. The D looked great. Adrian Phillips got 2 picks, I believe, and the D line got pressure on Herbert all day, nearly every play. He felt uncomfortable, and I saw encouraging signs from the Patriots on Sunday. Who is your numero nueve?
My numero nueve is the Tennessee Titans.
I could see that. Yeah, I had them a couple spots higher, but without Henry, it's fair.
Without Henry. And I also think the teams above them are just better teams and play better. The Titans struggled with the Indianapolis Colts, and Tannehill played fine. Derrick Henry played a good game, but his foot, he's going to
He's
be out a
injured now.
while. His season could be done. And I think that's going to hurt them down the line. And it hasn't come yet. It won't come yet.
But when it comes to January, it could end up hurting them quite a bit.
Absolutely. But this game is going to be the first true test the Titans face without Derrick
LA
Henry.
Rams.
And I'm excited to see that matchup. That's going to be our game of the week.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. That's probably. I think it'll be the game of the season so far. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Who is your number 9?
I'm gonna do my number 9 and 8 here, but my number 9 is Vegas. The Raiders. They had a bye, but I moved them up a few spots. A lot of turmoil in that organization right now after the Gruden stuff went on, the Rug stuff today, but they're pushing through it. Carr looks great. Once again, Jacobs is a very solid running back. Drake is a nice complementary piece. Wide receivers I have concerns about without Ruggs now, but I think Edwards could step up and be that number 1 guy. Darren Waller, he still exists. He's still a top 3 tight end. He's a maniac. O-line is cause for concern, but I don't think it's too bad. And the D has really, really impressed me, especially in the last couple of weeks, especially Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue up front. My number 8 team is Tennessee Titans for the same reasons you had, except I have a lot of faith in Ryan Tannehill. He's had a couple turnovers games, couple bad turnovers this year, but he hasn't looked too bad. And I think once they open up that pass game, once Todd Downing and Mike Vrabel really open it up, I think he'll thrive. They got Julio Jones now. AJ Brown is a freak, and I really think they're a legit Super Bowl contender.
Yes, and my number 8 is the New Orleans Saints for the same reasons that you mentioned above. While they are struggling to find a quarterback, they are that damn good on defense, and they have the surrounding cast to be able to afford losing their quarterback. Jameis Winston was nothing special, and I think they can survive with nothing special.
Yeah.
Who's your number 7?
My number 7 team right now is Baltimore. I moved them up like 1 or 2 from the bye. They're a 4th in the AFC. They did get crushed by the Bengals, but I think it's just a down game for them. Bengals are a good team too. I think they end up win. I think they end up winning their division. En route to a 3 or 4 seed, 4th in the playoffs. I don't think they make it to the Super Bowl or anything, but Lamar is their quarterback. John Harbaugh is their coach. Solid defense as well. I really like their team this year. Who's your 7?
My number 7 is the Baltimore Ravens for the same reasons you mentioned. So my number 6 is the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo. At 6, I have Buffalo too. I think they're really well-rounded team. I love Josh Allen. I love Sean McDermott, and the D is great as well. My number 5 team is Tampa Bay and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a bad ending of the game. Don't get me wrong, but they're still a top 5 team without a doubt. Brady is still a great quarterback. Arians I have my concerns with, but he's not. I wouldn't say he's holding the team back. The D is really good. Offense is really talented. They're a great team overall. Who do you have at number 5, Sam?
My number 5 is the Dallas Cowboys. They looked really good, especially on defense against the Minnesota Vikings. And it hurts me to say this, but they're true Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I agree with them being Super Bowl contenders. It is a crowded NFC though. I have the Cowboys for the same reasons. With Dak back, they'll be even scarier. Zeke is back. Cooper is having another great year. Lamb is great. Trevon Diggs is coming along really nicely. Randy Gregory, all the pieces that I concerns with too on defense have been coming along really, really nicely so far. Who is your number 3 team?
My number 3 team is the Los Angeles Rams. For the reason that they're that damn good.
They're unbelievable.
They're only number 3 because the 2 teams above them they're just as good, but I just have them slightly better. And the
Yeah.
Rams, great quarterback play, great everything.
My number 3 team is Arizona. I didn't want to move them back, but they lost, so I had to. There are other one-loss teams as well. They're phenomenal. If AJ Green turned, they would have at least got a field goal, in my opinion. I think they're still a 13-14 win team. Kyler is still great, and I have really no concerns with them going forward.
My number 2 team is the Arizona Cardinals for the same reasons you said. So, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers, he was on Jeopardy last spring, and he traveled all the way from Jeopardy. He traveled to Hawaii, back home. He was being a baby. He didn't want to go to practice, and he's balling out now. So not much to say there, but they're a Super Bowl threat. I think they actually win it this year. Rodgers is elite. Defense is very solid, and LaFleur is a great coach. Who do you have at number 2?
I just did my number 2. So, what's your number 1?
My number 1 and my Super Bowl favorites right now, other than the Packers, are the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford is great. Coaching is great. I don't have a single concern with the team right now.
My number 1 is the Green Bay Packers. They're the best team in the NFL to me. Without their best 2 receivers, they still managed to get it done against a great Arizona team on the road. Not much needs to be said about that.
Yeah. All right. And that will conclude this episode of the Double S NFL podcast. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Signing off is Spencer, and signing off is
Sam. We'll see you next time, guys.
Everyone, and we will see you tomorrow night.
We'll see you guys.